I remember being about 4 or 5 years old and coming down the stairs in my family home at the time into the front room and just seeing this white drum kit that my brother had bought. I'm from a church background. My brother was a resident drummer in church, and so he bought this kit and he set it up and he put new heads on it and everything, and he was taking it to church that weekend. It was a Pearl Export, 12, 13, 16, 22. And I'm like, oh my goodness. It was like that scene out of Independence Day where you see the spaceship coming over the White House. And I just remember as a kid just being so captivated by this thing. And just to give you a perspective, like I walked towards the kit and the hi-hat cymbal was over my head. So I was just like, what's this? I think that's definitely where the seed was sown. And then from that, it would be like pots and pans around the house, cushions and whatever. And then in church, I'd be like sat there like this, and just watching my brother play. And then, as they say, the rest is history. It was like, that was me, and I became the resident drummer at church. And then that's why no matter what drum company I've played in the past, one of my kits is always white, and it's like a tribute to my brother's kit. You always see Don at some point behind a white kit, and it's because the very first kit I played was a white Pearl Export, and it's still at the church that I used to go to. It's still there. It's still there to this day, yeah. There's a myth that the longer you do this, the sort of less it bothers you, but I can honestly tell you that every night of every gig, walking into a venue and just seeing my kit on stage, it still gives me goosebumps. I still get butterflies, I still got nervous energy before going on. I would say nerves is like the currency to great performances, man, you know, because I remember listening to a record, I think it was 7 Days, and Vinnie Colaiuta on drums. And I remember seeing an interview with him years afterwards, and he said he literally just rocked up and they pressed go and he just played that and it just came from within, and I'm like, I love that. So like embrace the nerves, and I think just channel it into the performance, man. Yeah, you need a little bit of that, definitely. As a band, we've been working together for a long time, so we all bring various characteristics and our own energy to it. But especially on the more poppier stuff, you're essentially replicating what's on the record. Say, for instance, the choreographers, the show producers, they would sort of look for different hits and accents, and you know, if those things aren't there because I'm feeling creative, it's like, oh, actually there was a tom fill there, or there was a snare roll, and we've put some steps to that. So you're sort of accommodating the music, but you're making it live because it's you playing it. Yeah, it's not one where you can just be free forming all over the place and right, tonight I'm gonna do something off my album. I don't have one, by the way, but you know, you give the music what the music needs, really. From a session perspective, I think the person who made the most impact on me, simply because his varied CV, was Omar Hakim. Yeah, because I was like, what? He plays for Weather Report. The guy who plays for Madonna's playing for Weather Report. Like, what? How is that? Like, they're so far removed. But he was doing that, and then he's like, I want to be that guy, that I can do different things. So he was, from a session perspective, he really kind of impacted me. But there's everyone, you know, obviously Dennis Chambers, Steve Gadd, Harvey Mason, David Garibaldi, and then there's like the newer generation now, you know, Gareth Browns, Ginger Hamilton, Dexter Hercules, Julian Chambers. There's just the list of Steve Barney. There's just guys I'm into, you know. I remember when we did the Progress tour with Robbie, I mean, Chris Sharrock, listening to him playing, like, for Robbie, I was like, this guy is awesome. So if you was to ask me who am I influenced by, I'm just like, my peers influence me, and I love that everybody does a little thing a little bit different. And I have the fortunate job of going, oh, I really like that, I'll have some of that, I'll have some of that. And I'd like to think that they go, yeah, Don does that and we'll take, you know, and I love that. I've never been like, right, this is me and nobody else. So for this tour, I'm using a Yamaha Absolute Hybrid Maple, which is absolutely outstanding. Big shout out to Gavin and all the guys down at Yamaha. And if you get in close, you can see that my name's on the badge, which is really cool. 8, 10, 12, 16, 18, 14 by 6.5 snare, and then the new 14 by 8 recording custom as snare 2. 24-inch kick, 20-inch kick, 20-inch gong drum. And it's great, I think, with regards to take that and the varied music from sort of the 90s, it being disco and this kind of kit, I've made it really modern sounding and really bright and zingy and punchy, so it just translates really. But that's my favourite thing with Yamaha, the consistency through the ranges. That's the thing that's always attracted me to Yamaha. On previous tours I've used Alt Customs, and it's just that level of consistency that always blows me away with their stuff. But it's been great. I was just like, right, I'm bringing out the white kit for this tour, and here we go. And it's built on the hex rack, really sturdy, really robust. Like I said, I've had it a long time, done multiple tours, and it's, you know, it's solid and robust gear, man. And I think that the true test of any great equipment is how well it tours, you know. And you can talk to my techs about that, you know, the stuff, it works and it you know, it stays sturdy. Let me tell you this, right, and it's probably good it's on camera. Like, I've discovered quite later on in my career the vintage drum fascination. Don't have a glass of wine and be on eBay in your bed and pressing buy it now, because it got to a point where boxes were turning up and I was going, I can't actually remember what that was, honestly. But there's just something about the construction of that stuff back then. I just don't know what it is. It's just gone, like all the guys in this band, they're like, Don, chill out, no more vintage shopping for you, mate. It's just getting ridiculous, but I love it. A friend of mine, Alicia Dixon's manager, used to be a drummer when he was younger. And we just got onto the subject of drums one afternoon. And he says, oh yeah, I used to have a 9000 when I was a kid. I was like, oh man, what did you ever do with the kit? He said, oh, I sold the kit, but I kept the snare drum. And I, oh, what snare drum do you have? He said, oh, I've got a Black Beauty. I was like, what? You got what? And he was like, I've got a 1978 Black Beauty that I bought in '82. I'm like, Malcolm, when you get home, you send it to my house. He's like, yeah, it's been in my loft since then. I was like, oh my goodness. I was like quite literally going mental. I was like, I need to have it. He was like, yeah, cool, done, no worries. And he sent it me, and in an old case, I was like, oh my God, it's a real like 1970s. It's got little scuffs and whatever. That's my main snare drum on the ELO gig, yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah, man. That very one. I love Gavin down at Yamaha, and I was like, Gav, but listen to it, mate. And he's like, Don, it's so right for the music. I'm like, I know. But that's my passion about the sounds that I have to make, do you know what I mean, for the gigs that I'm on. And that gig is a very sort of authentic sounding gig, and we can't sound modern because the music is of that time. So, you know, I would love to take a vintage kit out, but obviously, as we know, they don't travel very well, and you know, so, you know, particularly on that gig, using like a sort of mid-90s recording custom, it's perfect. Take the bottom heads off, CS batters with the black dots and all of that, and do that thing. 12, 13, 16, 18. That's the sound of that era. And then to have the vintage snare. But yeah, it's like, you know, I'm embarrassed with the list. Yeah, which I won't go into. Zildjian Cymbals, big shout out to Tina, as always. K Sweet Hats, A Fast Splash. This is the 14-inch A Custom EFX. These are brilliant. The Sweet Crashes, they're new. And the cluster crashes, they're absolutely awesome. They're like my new favourite thing. Fast splashes again, same 12-inch, 8-inch, 20-inch A Custom EFX, sweet ride. We've got the medium thin A crash. I can't see the K, what's it called again? Yeah. And then the K dark crash on the end here. Remo heads, Gary Mann down at Remo. On this kit, we're using clear Emperors and control sounds on the snares. Emperor Black Suede X on the snare 2. Power Stroke 4s on the kicks. Pro Mark sticks. It's the Shishiri Oak PW5B ends. Nylon tip, I'm a fan of nylon. People go, yeah, it's a bit old school. I'm like, I like the sound of nylon on your cymbals. I noticed the difference with wood tip to nylon tip. So yeah, that's it. Yamaha pedals, we're good to go. Yamaha electronics, yeah, can't fault it. The DTX range, brilliant as always. I feel very fortunate to be looked after by such great people and great friends. You know, that's really cool. My advice, honestly, it's the game has changed massively since I came into it. But the biggest difference I would have to say is the world of social media. I think it's important to brand yourself. You get your videos up and out there, and just be enthused. My thing is attitude and enthusiasm. I'm not saying you have to be a virtuoso in any particular genre, but have an appreciation for all sorts. Keep enjoying it, keep playing, whether it's in your local pubs, clubs or whatever, but put yourself out there, let people see you. And I heard a story of Beyonce's most recent guitarist was like found on Instagram, and I just love that. She was somewhere, how one of her people saw there's this cool chick and she's a great guitarist. You know, it does happen. I'm not saying that will be your particular pathway, but you know, when you think that person ain't watching, somebody is, man. And if you're enthused about what you do and it doesn't feel like a chore, they'll pick up on your energy, man. Definitely.